To the lecture on critical reading. Isn't this a writing course? So what do we care about critical reading? What bearing does that have on writing? I'll give you a few seconds just to think about that. Well, good readers oftentimes make better writers. So what are some qualities of critical reading? Well, they answer several questions. Think about the who, what, when, where, why, and how. First of all, who. Who has to do with who is the author. This is one of the most important questions that you can ask is, who's the author? This has to do with the author's credibility. Because let's face it, nowadays anybody can write anything about anything, put it on the web, and pass it off as expertise or good, credible information. So how do we know what's good and what's not good, what's useful and what's not so useful? Well, first of all, knowing who the author is. Does the author have credentials? Meaning, does the author have a particular knowledge, not a specialized knowledge or other knowledge about the topic in which they're discussing. And that doesn't mean that everyone has to have a PhD in a certain field in order to talk about that field. But you do have to have at least you do have to convey a certain amount of knowledge in order to build your credentials or your credibility. Also, when asking who, think about who is the audience, or who is the intended audience. Sometimes it may be obvious who the audience is. Other times it may not be so obvious. Could be for a general audience, anybody that will listen type of audience. But it also could be written for an audience that also has a specialized knowledge in whatever field the topic happens to be in. So think about who the audience is, and especially who is the author. After who, we need to ask what. What is the main idea? Main idea is also called the claim. It's also the thesis. Also, what are the basic assumptions that are made? These are all questions that you ask. During your first reading, you need to always keep in mind, what's the main idea here? What's the main idea? Because you will have to do probably several readings just to get a really good sense of all that you need to know about the particular piece of writing. Next is when. When was the article written? When was it published? Because it may not be published when it was written. Could be 5, 10, 100 years later that the particular piece of information was written. So what does when something was written tell us about it? Well, think about different contexts. Think about different socio-political environments. Let's point out 1962 and today. What was going on in 1962? What's going on today?